Hello, and welcome to Cousin Chat, where we talk about what matters. I'm your host, Donna Pazant, and today I have a special guest with me. She is my soror, and this, if you don't know, is Sisterhood Month. And you have to also know that it's Women's History Month. So that just makes it extra special for her to be here with me today. Brandi McAlister, say hello to the people.
Hello. Hey, Zona.
Hey, I'm so glad you could join me for this chat today. This is what I call an entrepreneur spotlight.
Ooh.
So if those of you who follow Cousin Chat, you know that I have done some other spotlights for other entrepreneurs. And so today, my focus is on Brandi. So, Brandi, you have a lot going on. You are an author, certified spiritual coach, speaker, certified life coach, and we'll get into some other things later,
Yes,
that you
yes,
have
yes.
going on. But I want to start off with, okay, you have something called Pray the Impossible. Please tell us, what is that and how did it come about?
Absolutely. Well, first and foremost, thank you for thinking of me always. And I thank you for allowing me to come on here and share what I have going on your platform. So I thank you.
Yes.
So, Pray the Impossible. That is a faith-based service company where through spiritual and life coaching and through events and through panel discussions, I basically just uplift, inspire, and encourage individuals on their spiritual journey. And so I have coined myself the spiritual friend visor. And that is a friend who gives advice based on godly wisdom. And I love to say I drop gems from my heart. Gems stand for God enthused messages spoken from my heart to uplift and inspire and encourage you on your journey. And so, Pray the Impossible, believe it or not, some people do not know, it started out as a devotional website. And Pray the Impossible will be 4 years old on June 5th of this year. And so, just to see it go from a devotional website to now a faith-based service company. I'm just so proud of my baby and just to see that it is pray the impossible, right? And
Mhm.
so my motto with Pray the Impossible is to pray the impossible, believe the impossible, and do the impossible. So that is what we believe in. It's just about having faith and just believing God for things bigger than what you can actually see.
Well, that sounds awesome. I mean, what a way to start this chat. So now, okay, we know about Pray the Impossible. I want to get into Brandi, the author. Okay, so now you have, I believe, two books. One
Yes.
is Real Talk, a conversation from my heart to yours, a 30-day devotional. And the other book, My Way or God's Way. The choice is yours. No, I'm sorry, My Way or God's Will. The
Yes.
choice is yours. How did you, well, first of all, what made you decide to even write a book, let alone two?
Listen, so my minister at the time, this had to be about maybe now 5 years, going on 5 years. He gave me a prophetic word and he said, I see you writing a book about your journey. I see you, hosting workshops with women. And so when he told me about writing a book, I kind of took that word and ran with it, right? So he gave me that prophetic word, I feel like October of like 2017. Then by November, I just remember one day I just went to Walmart and I got a notebook and I just started writing. And the words that I were writing were words to uplift and encourage you, right? So a couple of the devotionals were based off my own personal experiences. And then I just used that to encourage people. And so while I was writing the book, Real Talk, that's how Pray the Impossible formed because a friend of mine told me, she's like, Brandi, you need a website. I'm like, I don't really want one. She's like, no, I said, I just want to write a devotional, one devotional for somebody else. She goes, there is too much of God in you for you to do something that small. And so that's how Pray the Impossible came about, is because I needed a website so that when the book came out, I had a website so that people could start to follow me and see my work and see what I was doing. So in the process of writing the book, I'm writing weekly devotionals. I think I had about maybe, how it actually started was I had 37 devotionals. And so because I turned it into a 30-day devotional book, I had 7 left over. And so I took those 7 and then put it on the website so that people can have something to read for 7 days. And so, yeah, so that's how the book came about. And then the second book, also, too, I was just led to write another book. So, Real Talk, A Conversation from My Heart to Yours, a 30-day devotional. That's an interactive book. So, at the end of each, I like to call them conversations. So, at the end of each conversation, I ask you questions and then I leave room for you to journal your thoughts and to actually answer those questions. And then the second book, which came out, so that book came out in 2018. The second book, My Way or God's Will, The Choice is Yours, that book came out in the top of 2020, February 2020. And so that book is my journey of becoming spiritual friend visor. It's my journey of pray the impossible. It's my journey of just becoming who, I am in this moment. And so it's basically giving you the steps. I had to surrender. I made plans for my life. I thought by this age I was going to have certain things and, have certain things accomplished. And God was like, yeah, you're going to, but not right now. Because in 2017, I got baptized. And then I remember the top of 2018, I asked God to use me as a vessel. And I didn't know what that meant. So listen, if you ever ask God to use you, you have to be careful what you ask for, because he's going to use you in a way that you did not expect. And I didn't expect any of this. And so I was just sharing in that book about how we can make plans. Do they always work out? Sometimes we think our plans are better than God's, and God is sitting here waiting, like, I'm just waiting for you to surrender so that you can do things according to my will, so that you can have that life of abundance, so that you can have and experience exceedingly more than you can ever think, dream, ask, or imagine. And so that book was basically me letting go of what I thought I knew best, of the plans that I thought was best, in order to do things according to God's will. And in doing so, I see how I've been able to be fruitful and to multiply, as opposed to when I thought, okay, I'm going to do this. And it was just like, oh, no, that's not working out. Okay, this isn't working out either. So yeah, so that's me as the author and the books.
Well, they say we can plan, but God is the best planner. And
Yeah.
he probably just sits back and laughs sometimes like, okay, daughter, if you
Yes.
want to go ahead and do that, I'll be right here when you finish with your plan.
Listen, and I'm sure he laughs at me all the time, because even still to this day, I'm like, but God, I like this idea. And then when it's like closed door. Okay, so now you just want me to wait and trust you? Okay.
Yes, and I say that all the time. Sometimes it can be difficult, when we know what we want to do or what we think we should be doing, but we really do have to listen.
Right.
And not only that, I've also said several times on some of my chats, be careful what you ask God for, because he's very capable of giving it to you.
Oh,
So
very
you
much
need to
so.
be ready for it when it comes, because if you ask him for it, it is going to come. If he wants you to have it, if it's his will, it will happen.
Exactly.
All right, so let's get into the life coach, Brandi the life coach. So you've got your spiritual life coach, a spiritual coach, and a certified life coach.
Yes.
What is the difference between the two, and do they sometimes just intertwine when you are working with people?
Absolutely, they do. And so that's how the term spiritual friend visor came about, is because before I was spiritual friend visor, I was the friend who everyone would come to asking for advice. And so I would be the friend to say, hey, I went through something similar. This is what I did. This is how I got through it. And then I'm using words to like encourage you, like, don't give up. Things are going to get better. And so when I first launched Pray the Impossible, the devotional website, I had 2 people reach out to me asking if I could be their spiritual advisor. And so I'm like, oh, okay, like, I can help you on your spiritual journey. And so then one day when I was at work, when I had a corporate job, I'm sitting there like spiritual advisor. Like I wanted it to be different. I wanted it to be unique. I wanted it to be something that matched my personality. So I just came up with spiritual friend advisor. I'm the friend who gives advice based on godly wisdom. And so as I'm coaching, that's the name that I use for myself as opposed to like a life coach or spiritual coach. I think it's more personable.
Mm-hmm.
And so life coaching, that as a life coach, spiritual friend advisor in that aspect, I hold you accountable, right? I hold you, if you tell me you have goals, if you tell me there's been blocks and fears and things that have hindered you from living the life that you want or becoming the person, I'm going to hold you accountable in any area of your life, whether it's in your finances and you're like, Brandy, hey, I want to get out of debt. I need to save money. I'm going to come up with goals, give you tools and techniques on how to do that. Whether it's working out, losing weight, relationship, whatever area in life, we're going to come up with a plan. So life coaching is basically where we are now and how can we get you to the future? How can we get you to where you want to be? Spiritual coaching, that is when people are feeling hopeless. That's when people are, they believe in God, they want a relationship with Him, or they had a relationship with Him, or they just feel kind of like out of alignment. So this is where the godly wisdom comes into place. This is where the gems, the God enthused messages come into place. This is where my books come into place. I use my books as tools and techniques on their journey. So while we're going through the life coaching aspect, your homework, if you want to get in alignment, each book that I have is your homework assignment. So in real talk, there's scriptures that I give you. So you're reading the scripture to feed your mind. In My Way or God's Will, there's also scriptures in there and questions. So that's how I help people on their journey. Like for me, honestly, I didn't grow up going to church. I didn't grow up in the church. So I learned to develop a relationship with God in my early 20s.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm just teaching people or guiding people on that journey. Like, hey, you can start a relationship with God at any time. If you decide today and you're 60, I want a relationship with God, how can I help you? Let me tell you how I can help you, right? It's about praying, and I'll give you different tools and techniques. So that's basically the difference. The spiritual side is to help align you and to grow you and to kind of usher you into your own relationship with God. I'll give you the tools and techniques. You
Mm-hmm.
figure out what works for you, and then you just continue to develop that over time. Life coaching is coming up with a plan to get you from point A to point B.
Now, one thing I've noticed lately, life coaches are popping up everywhere, And so, what is the one thing that for someone who is just sitting back thinking, you know what, I could be a life coach. I give good advice. I'm friendly. But for someone who's really thinking about it, what do you think they need to know, like for real, to be a good life coach? Not just someone who decides, on a Tuesday they just woke up and said, you know what, I'll be a life coach. What
Right.
for someone who's really serious about it, what do they need to know?
I think for someone who is really serious about it, do your research and become certified. I think that separates you from anybody else, right? Because there's tons of life coaches. Like you said, you can wake up one day and say, I want to be a life coach. But what gives you credibility? If you see that I'm certified and you see that the school that I went to is Life Purpose Institute, that is accredited by ICF. ICF is the International Coaching Federation. So that
Okay.
is something that you need, those type of credentials, as opposed to doing a quick get your life coaching certification in 20 hours, whereas opposed to I went through an extensive program that gave me the tools and the techniques and the skills and different things to add on to what I already do. So I think that if people are serious about whether it's a health coach, a spiritual coach, a life coach, I think getting certified, and where you get certified, make sure it has the accreditation from ICF, because that's what's known, ICF.
So, all that being said, I would also say to people who are thinking about seeking a life coach, make sure that the life coach that you get is certified, and check the credentials. Make sure that they know what they're doing, because the worst thing you want to happen is to be in a vulnerable state.
Right.
You're reaching out for help, and then the person who is supposed to be helping you is not certified to do so.
Right. Exactly.
So you
Exactly.
want to check that out. So now, Brandy, there is something else that you have going on. You
Yes.
have a nonprofit organization called Blessed by Brandy Inc. Blessed by
Yes.
Brandy Incorporated. So tell us about that. And how did that
Yes.
come
It's
about?
listen, it is a story, it is a testimony for everything. So, Blessed by Brandy, it started off as a hashtag on social media. I used to post on Pray the Impossible on Instagram. I used to post words of the day. So this particular day, I posted the word busy. And in that post, in the caption, I'm asking you questions about, like, oh, are you too busy for God? Are you busy focusing on this? Just different questions with the word busy in it.
Mhm.
Avid follower of Pray the Impossible said, hashtag blessed by Brandy. I said, oh my God. I was like, I love that. I was like, I'm going to use this. Like, I love it. I'm like, thank you. So, about what was it, 2019, or no, I think that was 2019. So maybe like 2020 or ending of 2019. Um, I used to host Instagram live shows called Heart to Heart. And
Okay.
so, similar to what we're doing now, but it was on Instagram Live. And I would give a topic, ask questions. So some of the women on there, they're like, Brandy, we want you to do this in person. Like, we'd love for you to have an in-person event. So I came up with Books Bubbly and Blessed by Brandy. And so books represented knowledge and knowledge. Bubbly represented, a little cocktail here and there, but also just bubbly, like a full of life, your spirit. And then Blessed by Brandy meant gems that I would drop from my heart. And so I use that to as my book signing for my second book, My Way or God's Will, The Choice Is Yours. So
Mhm.
every event, it then became Books Bubbly and Blessed by Brandy. During the pandemic, my cousin, he suggested that I go the nonprofit route just because of the work that I do. And so I said, you know what? Blessed by Brandy.
Hmm.
And under the nonprofit, that's where I host events. And so Blessed by Brandy, the mission is to address the whole person by tapping into the mind, body, and spirit so that we can address the issues that have hindered us spiritually, mentally, physically, in our overall wellness and well-being. And so under Blessed by Brandy, I host events, panel discussions, and open forums that are geared towards spirituality, mental health, and wellness to enrich your life. And so for me, I always say, God blesses us so that we can be a blessing to others. And you have just been blessed by Brandy. And so I just love to be a blessing to anyone in any way, in any capacity, whether it's dropping gems, whether it's, being of service. And so it just became so fitting. And so now Blessed by Brandy has a whole new meaning. I recently lost my father to lung cancer in December. And so he lives in South Carolina and he came up for a Blessed by Brandy event.
Oh,
And so I didn't know he was sick. We didn't know he had lung cancer, but he was determined and motivated because he kept saying, this might be my last event. I'm like, okay, whatever. And so when he came up here, that in fact was his last event. And so, had I not had Blessed by Brandy, had I not had that event, my father wouldn't have come to New Jersey, and he resided here for the last 3 months of his life and, transitioned. So, Blessed by Brandy saved my father's life. And so now it has a different touch and meaning, and the fact that he had lung cancer, it still falls into the physical health, the mental, the wellness, and things of that nature.
right. I'm so glad you had that time with him because you will never forget that.
No,
And
yeah.
I also have family roots in South Carolina, but that's another conversation for another
Right.
day. But see, when things are God led, you know it.
Yeah.
It was God led for you to have that. It was God led for him to want to be here for that. And it was God led for him to be here with you those last days. Like that, it was supposed to happen just like that.
Yes.
And that
Yes.
is why we have to listen. If God is
Yes.
talking to us, we have to listen. And, sometimes, he may have to isolate us and it doesn't always feel good, but when you're walking in your purpose. And I believe
Right.
that you're walking in yours.
Thank you. Thank you. And this circles back to my way or God's will. The choice is yours. Had I not surrendered, had I not decided to choose God's will, there would have been no Pray the Impossible. And I couldn't have then had Blessed by Brandy after that. So, to your point, it's very important, especially if you are, a believer and, are God's servant. And when He has plans, He knows the plans He has for you. I thought my plans were something else. I could have been married, living off somewhere, all of that. I didn't know my father was going to need me. I didn't know he was going to need blessed. I didn't know these things, but God knew.
Yeah.
And so I think it's, to your point, very important. You just have to listen. And, there are some sacrifices in life that you just have to make, because what people fail to realize is your sacrifice and your obedience is connected to somebody else.
I'm telling you, a lot of what we experience is not just for us. It could be to bless somebody else.
Exactly.
Whew, ciao, Brandy. Well, anyway, thank you so much for being here today. Guys, if you want to follow Cousin Chat, and I hope you do, we are on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and YouTube. You can see the videos on YouTube now. And if you want to just listen to this chat and the other ones that have been released already, you can go to cousinchat.com. That's CUZNCHAT.com, and the links to other platforms are there as well. So if you prefer to listen on Apple, Spotify, Breaker, Stitcher, Google Cast, any of those, the links to those sites or streaming platforms are on my website, cousinchat.com. So, we always like to leave you with something to think about. And so the takeaway for me today would just be to follow I wouldn't just say passion, because I've said that before, like several times, but in this case, if God is speaking to you, listen. And if you have something that you've been wanting to do, but you're a little, pensive about it, you're not sure, but you hear God telling you, this is what I want you to do, go for it. Just try it. If it's God led, it's going to work out. You may have some stumbling blocks along the way, but it will work out. And so, Brandy, do you have anything else to add to the takeaway today?
Yeah, I would say, to your point, just step out on faith. That's pretty much what I did during the pandemic. I was furloughed and then I was laid off, but I was already in the process of obtaining my certification. And so once I got laid off, I said, that's okay, because I have a lot to do for Pray the Impossible. And I decided to take that leap of faith and to trust God and to step into my purpose full time. And so I encourage anyone that, whatever it is that you want to do in life, just take the leap of faith, take that step, and God is going to do the rest. He just wants you to continue to walk by faith and not by sight. And so, yes, I would just say it's circling back. Pray the impossible, believe the impossible, and do the impossible, and watch God show up and make the impossible possible.
I would end right there because I could, but I need people to know where they can find you. Like if people want your
Yes.
services or if they want to get either of your books, first of all, how can they get the books? And then how could they contact
Okay.
you if they would like your services or to have you come speak somewhere?
Yes. Oh, absolutely. Oh, yes, absolutely. So you can find me on praytheimpossible.com. That's where you'll find the books. You can also schedule a free 30-minute introductory spiritual and life coaching session with me. What else is on there? I have sweatshirts, I have different merch on there. And you can also follow me on Instagram at Pray the Impossible. Facebook is Pray the Impossible. Twitter is Blessed by Brandy. And so, yes, and if you would like to have me come speak, I do small group coaching sessions, I do brunches, any idea that you have, I can come and tailor it to your need. You can email me at praytheimpossible@gmail.com.
Oh my God, this is so exciting. Anyway, okay, we'll chat after this chat, but I'm just so glad you could join me today. Do you think you would come back for another chat about something else?
Thanks. It's not even a thought. Of course I will come back. I enjoyed being here. Yes.
Yay. Thank you, thank you, thank you. So, folks, until we come back to our next cousin chat, I'm Donna.
And I'm Brandi.
And this has been another amazing episode of Cousin Chat. Thank you so much. Be blessed, everybody. All right, bye-bye.